This is my third bull run, and the last one, I let generational wealth slip through my hands within months. In 2021, my portfolio hit highs that I'd never seen before, and within months, I was down £47,000. And I want to make sure you don't make the exact same mistakes I did, because they're the same mistakes investors are making even today. In this video, I'm going to be going through 5 things that I wish I did last cycle that would have changed everything. And if you follow these 5 things, you'll come out of this cycle with a completely different life. Welcome to the channel, friends. I'm Adil, a doctor and an investor. And when I say this is my third cycle, I mean it. I've invested through the 2017 bull run, the 2020 bull run, and the current bull run right now. Across both stocks and crypto, I've seen the euphoria, I've seen the panic, I've seen the crashes, and I've seen the mistakes that people make. Each cycle taught me painful but very valuable lessons. And I'm going to share that with you right now. But before I do that, if you want updates on the markets, including the S&P 500, Bitcoin, gold, and things that I'm watching, then sign up to my free newsletter by clicking the link in the description below. Okay, so let's go straight into mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is not having a goal. And as with anything in life, it's good to set goals. And an example I'll give you is something like a sport such as basketball. In basketball, you've got the hoops that teams are trying to score in. If the hoops are not there, then what are the teams actually aiming to do? What are they trying to do? That's why it's very important to have a goal. And another example I'll give you is when it comes to studying as well. If you know from the start that you want to be a doctor, you know that you need to go into medical school. But in order to get accepted into medical school, you need to study certain subjects before that. And you need to achieve certain grades before that as well. So it's the same thing. If you have a goal of studying medicine, then you need to make sure that you're studying the right subjects. You need to make sure that you're achieving the right grades. And all of this is part of the goal setting. You need somewhere that you're working towards. If you don't have somewhere that you're working towards, you're never going to know which direction you're going in. So how can you set goals when it comes to investing? Well, it's pretty simple. You need to think about what are you actually trying to achieve from investing. This is going to be different between different people. So what your goals are is going to be completely different to what your cousin's goal is going to be or what your friend's goal is going to be. Your goal might simply be to make enough money so that you can buy a car that you've always been wanting to buy. Someone else's goal might be they want to make enough money to buy a deposit for a house. This is going to be different for everyone. So what I want you to do is I want you to actually write down what you actually want to achieve when investing and put a number next to it as well. So if you know that a car is going to cost you £10,000, then actually write it down, £10,000, that's your goal. That's what you're working towards. So this way you can actually see whether you're actually close to your goal or not. Alright, so trap number 2, not having a plan. This links very closely to not having a goal. And the reason being is because once you have a goal, then you need to think about how are you actually going to get there, okay? So if we use the example of, trying to make £10,000, then you need to start thinking, okay, how am I going to get there? What time frame do I want to get there by? And there will be many different ways of getting to £10,000. There's not one fixed way. You can invest in crypto, for example, and you can get to £10,000, but it's a very risky avenue to go down. Whereas another way you can do it is by investing in something slower, such as a ETF, such as the S&P 500, and that will get you to £10,000, albeit taking longer. So it depends on your risk appetite and what you're willing to invest. So you need to make a plan. What's your risk appetite like? How much are you willing to invest? So these are the sort of questions that you need to be thinking about when it comes to planning. And if we were to use the example of basketball again, if one team is playing against another team, the hoops are there, so both teams know that they need to score. But then what do you think the role of the coach is to do? The coach is there to try and make a plan in terms of how to beat the other team, how to score more goals in basketball. So this is why planning is very important. And there's a saying that failure to plan is planning to fail. And that's very, very true. If you have an exam coming up very soon and you're not preparing for it and you're not planning anything, then the likelihood is you won't pass that exam. And it's the same concept here. If you know that you need to achieve a certain goal and you've not got a plan or anything in order to get there, then it's not going to work out. Alright, trap number 3, not controlling your emotion. Emotion. This is one of the biggest killers when it comes to investing. A lot of people lose money because of just poor emotion. They just cannot control their emotion. They invest in something, they see their money going up, they get excited, they invest even more money into it, then it continues going up, and they get even more excited, and before you know it, the price just starts going down. And why did that happen? Why were you investing when the price has already been starting going up? That's just because of poor emotion, not being able to control the emotion, investing even more when the price is going up because you think that it will never stop, it'll continue going up, it'll never come down. There's also things like copying friends. My friend, he made £10,000 in Tesla stock. So, if I put £10,000 in Tesla stock as well, then maybe I'll have a chance of making £10,000. That's not a way to invest. That's literally emotion, using someone else's story to make your own. And that's not how things work in the investing market. And let's not forget about things like panic selling, taking more risk than you can actually afford to lose. And because you've taken more risk, you're more likely to panic sell because when you do see your portfolio down £5,000-10,000, then you're going to be like, oh, this is not working out. I need to sell because if this continues going down, I'm going to blow my portfolio. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they do go through that. All right, mistake number 4, not taking profits. I wish someone had sat down with me and told me this a very long time ago. And you know what? It sounds so obvious, but it's just so hard to do. This again, it links to the emotion side of things. You know, when your portfolio is up 10, 20, 30,000 pounds and you think that, you know what, this is so good. This is so good. This is going to continue. You know, why? I don't need that money right now. So why should I take profits? Just leave it later on. We don't know. It'll probably go much higher. These are all thoughts that go through my mind. And I'm sure it goes through yours as well with your investments. And as a result, you don't take profits. And then slowly it starts coming down. That £30,000 profit becomes £25,000 profit. And you think that, yeah, it'll come back up. And then that £25,000 becomes £15,000. And then that £15,000 becomes £5,000. And you're like, you know, I'm still in profit. It'll probably go back up. And then before you know it, you're in loss again. And then you think to yourself that, you know, at one point I was up £30,000. And that would have been my whole year's salary made just from investing. The time freedom you could have got from that £30,000 at that moment in time. But now it's gone. This cycle, I've tried to change the way I do things because this is a very difficult problem, not only just for yourself, even I struggle with this problem. And one thing that I just keep reminding myself is with investing, everything that you do is all just numbers on the screen. When you invest in crypto, it's a number on the screen. When you invest in stocks, it's a number on the screen. And unless you have something physical in front of you, you've not really made any money. So even if it says you're up 20, 30, 40,000 pounds, if you've got nothing to show for it, you've got nothing to show for it. You've not really made any money. And that's the way I see things now. But remember, this also ties into your goal that you set in mistake number 1. So just make sure the two link together with whatever you do. And before I go into mistake number 5, if you found this video useful and if you want more market updates and if you want to work with me directly in the future, sign up for my newsletter in the link in the description below. I go through a lot of things including market updates, things that I'm looking forward to in the markets. I cover the S&P 500, Bitcoin, gold, and anything that's eye-catching at that moment in time. And so far I've received some really good feedback on it. So thank you if you've been in touch with me to give me some feedback. Alright, mistake number 5, the final mistake, not doing something with the profits that you've made. Alright, you're now at a stage where you've made a lot of money. We're at the peak of the bull run, or near the peak anyway. You're in a lot of profit. You've taken some profits as well, but now you're not really doing anything with it. It's really easy that once you take profit, once you see some cash in your account, you're just ready to buy a stock again and then lose the money on the way down whilst the bear market's happening. It's very easy to fall into that trap. And I wish I was told that, you know, do something with your money. And when I say do something with your money, I don't mean invest again. You can do that by all means. But here, what I mean is some of the goals that you set in step number 1. For example, if you needed to buy a car, you know, buy a car. You've got the money for it now. If you have some debt outstanding, then pay off some debt. Although if you're in debt, then you shouldn't really be investing. But that's another story anyway. You know, if you've always wanted to start a business, then use this money to start your business. You know, if you've made a lot of money that you can actually take some time off work because of the amount of money you made is equivalent to maybe your year's salary, then, you know, take the risk. Take a year out of work and then start a business. I know it's scary at first, but try it. These are all different things that you can try. And my point here is use that money to do something in your life. Try and make something for yourself. Like, people have things that they've always wanted to do in their life. Ask yourself that if you had all of the money in the world right now, what would you do? And if it's something like, you know, going on a yacht, going on a cruise ship or something like that, then by all means, but I'm talking about things like, you know, I've always wanted to start this business, or I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, or I wanted to do this, but I just didn't have money for the equipment. Then, you know, use this opportunity to actually try, explore that avenue. See where it takes you, see where life takes you. Because if you enjoy it, then it can potentially change your life. So those are the 5 mistakes that I wish in the last bull run, someone actually sat down with me and went through it with me. Because if I had listened to that, then things would have been very different right now. And I hope that you've got some value from this. And if you want to know more about who I am, then click on this video over here, which has a sneak peek into my life. And if you've been through some of the previous bull runs, then comment below, what did you learn from these bull runs? What would you do differently? Do you agree with what I say? Or do you have a differing opinion? I'm happy to explore your views.